And I'm live. That is pretty cool. Today is 6th of February 2026, Friday. And with that, let's begin. For today, the goal would be to write user login APIs and related stuff because we will have to like figure out some stuff. And the thing that I have settled on is that we are going to use JWT. Why are we going to use JWT? I guess because most people use this, and yeah, most people use this, and this seems fine, and I want to like learn. I'm not good at this. So yep, that would be fine. APIs and related stuff so that a user can create an account and the authentication. Why do we need authentication? We need authentication so that on any request that comes to the server, there are two things like authentication, and I am speaking out of my ass. So like yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Authentication and authorization. Authentication is one thing, and then we have authorization. Authentication means identifying the person sending the request who they are. Authentication is about who they are, and authorization happens after authentication. And in authorization, when we do know who the person is, we have to decide what that person can do. And today we are going to set up this authentication who process so that every request whichever comes on later, which we will decide later on what they can do, first we have to figure out who this person is. And the authentication process, it seemed from the JWT um, and this thing that documentation, that we can do this authentication process without using any database requests by the server to the database. So that is kind of cool. Let's see. I guess this would help. JSON Web Token is an open standard. So, okay, that is even cooler. There is a RFC for this thing. So this is not just that some company made something. This is an actual thing on the internet, JWT. So we are not just going with any arbitrary standard. We are using something that is made by the people at the internet. And I think the name of this organization is pretty cool. Internet, like who write the RFCs? Who writes the RFCs? Or which organization takes care of the RFCs? Request for comments. Internet Engineering Task Force, IETF. They have a task force for all of these RFCs, which is cool. Okay, so JSON JWT is an open standard that defines a compact and self-contained way for security transmission information between parties as JSON object. Transfer of information between parties using JSON object. This information can be verified and trusted because it is digitally signed. JWTs can be signed using a secret with HMAC algorithm or a private public key using RSA. So signature. Okay, although JWTs can be encrypted to also provide secrecy between parties, we will focus on signed tokens. On signed tokens. Okay, signing a token seems to be the main thing. Signed tokens can verify the integrity of claims contained within it, while encrypted tokens hide those claims from other parties. We don't actually have to encrypt. We can just sign and verify those claims from other parties. When tokens are signed using public private key pairs, the signature also certifies that only the party holding the private key is the one to sign it. So we will get information. Anyone can see the information, but we will only process the information if the signature is verified. When should you use JW for authorization? Yep. This is the most common scenario for using JWT since the user is logged in. Each subsequent request will include the JWT, allowing the user to access routes, services, and resources that are permitted with that token. Single sign-on is a feature that widely uses JWT nowadays because all of its small overhead and its ability to be easily used across different domains. Ability to be used across different domains and information exchange. JWT are a good way of securely if we do encrypt, because JWTs can be signed, for example, using public private key. You can be sure the senders are who they say they are. Information exchange. Additionally, as the signature is calculated using the header and the payload, you can also verify the content hasn't been tampered with. That is cool. Okay. How do we use JWT? So like if we have this header and payload section and a secret, that is cool. That is cool. Okay. Now, how do we libraries? Yes. Shit, these are all the libraries. One JWT library, jwt.io, libraries for token signing and verification. These are all the libraries. Okay, this seems to be the best one by Asia. This one is for one or by one. Install package Jose. Let's view this one, Jose. And yep, this seems to be active 4 days ago. Jose is a library which implements JWT. Jose is a JavaScript module for JSON object signing and encryption, provided support for JSON web tokens, JWT, web signature, JWS, JSON encryption, JWE, and okay, sponsor help dependencies. Jose has no dependencies and it exports three tree shakeable ESM, a ECMAScript module. Jose is distributed using these things. We can import Jose like this. How do we use Jose? Jose or Jose? One add Jose, okay, and encrypted JSON import perfect. Web signature Jose utilities. This is the documentation. Jose module exports as web tokens. Verify and okay, I guess they should be giving us some code here. Encryption, nope. Signature is something that we need. Import functions, import Jose module supports sign-in and verification of JWT messages with arbitrary payloads in compact, flattened JSON and general JSON serialization. We will need some helper functions, sign-in in compact, general JSON, verification, compact sign, text, Jose equals new Jose, which takes a new text encoder, encode this thing, and okay, we sign like this by giving in the private key, and protected header is something which we can use if you want to, and verification compact. For verification, let's say we do have this thing, then we do verify compact, verify this JWS token right here with this public key, compact verify, await this thing, and we'll get the payload and the header if they did work out. Okay, let's do some testing. This is not database. This goes into backend. Helper. Shit, helper is not going to be a function, but a directory. Go to helper and jwt.ps, right? And here we will have class or function. Class, we will have class. Why do we even need class? No, yes, we will have class. We will have a class, and that class will take in just the this thing, just the token. And yes, the function calling the class, verifying whether this token is correct or not, will not care about the key. So that is fine. Okay. From expected from, this is how we are supposed to import, I think, as Joseph from. Okay, that is cool. Okay, and here we will have one function for, let's have const e equals s s or 553 r3t, like secret. And we will have a function which takes in a string token type string, and here dot compact verify. uh, First will come the token, and then the no overload matches this call. No, why? What is the required type for the key? Crypt key. It has to be one of these things. Why? Compact sign, private key. Mm, okay, compact sign. No, public key here seems to be compact verify. Yes, public key here just seems to be a normal thing. Call signature compact, get key JWS, public key compact to verify. This returns a promise. Key to verify, key to verify the JWT. See this key require. Okay, shit. Key has to have some requirements. That is crazy. Key to verify the JWS with. Okay, JWS verify options. U int 8 array. So that should be working. U int 8 array. String is not assignable to to create a U int 8 a array in JavaScript. from of dot from. Sounds great. Okay, that does work. And here cons, there are going to be two return values, payload, and the other one was payload and protected header, which are going to be returned as keys. Or let's see what is returned. Async and return res, export this thing and export cons sign, also an async function. This just takes the string and const gwt is new uh, Jose text encoder. How do you do this? How do you do the sign process? New, create a new compact sign object and give it text encoder, encode this whole thing, and that is optional, that comma is optional, and set protected header. Okay, we will experiment, and then dot sign, that will give us the stuff. New this, and then this thing token is not, this expression is not constructible. Call on this set, we should be able to call on this thing directly. Hmm. New text object dot encoder await new Jose dot compact sign, new Jose dot compact, not declared, but its value is never read. Argument of type text encoder is not signable to parameter of type uint array. Set protection header, I guess, and then dot sign with key. Now we have two errors. TypeScript argument of type this is not assignable to parameter of type compact with the property alg is missing. We just can give the ECMAScript standard. Okay, and nothing else, it seems. Set alg, yes, to script, yes, 256. TypeScript argument of type text encoder cannot be given. Dot encode, create an object and dot encode the token. Export these two functions. That is cool. Okay. Okay. And here, instead of playing around with data. Let's play around with those two functions, verify and sign. These two things. Yep. Const response, or let's say payload is, this is my payload, and don't share this. And then we will say token is sign this payload, await this, right? And console.log token and const response is verify this token and console.log response. Bundle back and error JSON web key. This operation must be a public JWK type error crypto key. Hmm. Bundle back. Okay. At what part? Backend dot helper JWT line 15 JWT dot TS line 15. This thing sign, and this is exactly how they say said to do things. Hello. It is a dangerous business, Frodo. Going out your door. Shit, that is Lord of the Rings, I think. Const GWS await new const JWT new encoder dot encode this thing set protected header. Set protected header is also set, so this should actually be working. And then return JWT await new Jose dot compact sign dot encode token console.log jws. Hmm. Console.logged got token dot log getting token run back getting token, and then we got error. What is the error type? JSON must be a public web key. Okay, our key is not correct. Okay, our key is not correct, so we can just remove this part, and now I think we should be good. Run back, and now we are still not very good. Either protected header or set unprotected header must be okay. But if we do call protected header, then we have to give the key in a very specific format. That protected header alg ECMAScript 256, and the header must and the key must be of this type. This is the one that we have used. Key object JSON web key, key object or crypto key. Okay, and we have to go through all of this to understand how the key should look like. Okay, why should the key be of any specific format? It may take one of the following values. Crypto key dot type secret, private, or public. Let's change. It is secret. It is like legit secret. So this should not have been a problem. But if I were to say here, then error string is not assignable to this type. Generate keys. We can generate a key algorithm extractable key usage. But why do we have to do all of this to get a single key? That is too much work. Hello. Yep. Thank you. Yo. And yes, right now this is like JWS, JWT, JSON Web Token. And here the library I have chosen is Jose, library called Jose. This Jose library. And here they are saying the type of the key has to be a very specific type somehow. Why? I'm using Jose library and one for JWT tokens, sign and verification. And the compact sign function wants me to give a key with a very with some format. Why is there some format for a random key? Why do we need a format at all for a key? This is one of the places crypto libraries look over engineered. What Jose is actually asking for, compact sign, is not asking for a random string, it is asking for a cryptographic key object with structure and metadata. Why? Because JWT is not equal to hash with secret. Okay. JWT is a standardized cryptographic container. JWT sign is not just HMAC. And wait, there was the RFC number for JWT is 7000. And when did this came out? 2015. So yes, 11 years ago. Okay. A JWT has three parts: header, payload, and signature. The header contains things like the algorithm used and type JWT. Okay. It is for which we have ES256 is the algorithm. Okay. That helg is crucial. Different algorithms expect different kinds of keys. Okay, ES256 is ECDSA private key. Let's use RS256, RSA, because why RSA? Because it just sounds better. And also the R in RSA is the person who wrote, is one of the co-authors on Introduction to Algorithms. So that is cool. RS256, and it will require some specific kind of key. Uh, YouTube, yeah, yes, he is the moderator. Uh, Working me student. Yes, he is the owner. Owner, bro is the owner. Yes, salaries will be distributed, don't worry. So the library must know what algorithm the key is for. What algorithm the key is for. Okay, because different algorithms require different kinds of keys. Okay, that is novel ground. Whether it is public or private. Okay, private, its size, curve, a key is supposed to have a curve, and hash compatibility. A curve, okay. Uh, Raw string has zero of that information. Okay, so, and this is metadata. And what is metadata? Metadata is the data which Facebook has, because Facebook is Meta now. Why format exists at all? Crypto APIs do not trust developers, and honestly, for good reasons. If libraries accepted my secret, yes, then all okay. So that is, if that is their reason. Crypto APIs do not trust the developers, and honestly, for good reasons, because people might be stupid and they might just give, literally set the secret key to be equal to secret, and that is why they have a specific format for key generation. Okay, then all these mistakes would silently happen. Wrong key size, weak security, using RSA with HMEC algorithm, signing with a public key by accident. Okay, using text encoding inconsistently, reusing keys across incompatible algorithms. Okay, instead, Jose enforces. Okay, so that I guess is a good practice. If you want to sign something, prove that you know what kind of key this is. That is why it wants key like or crypto key, not random bytes. The random key is not random anymore. When you say some random key, what you really mean is I want a symmetric key for HS256 in Jose. That becomes sign JWT encoder. This does two things. Okay, we have to get the key like this, where the original string can be anything, but it is going to be converted in some encoded format and will come in the string variable. But we didn't say that what we are going to use. Okay, shit. That is the case. Then legit sector, sector, not secret. And here new text encoder dot encode. That also does not work. Encode does not work on this. Encode does not exist on type new, but we legit used the same thing here. New text encoder. Okay, we have to call encoder, construct encoder, and now this works. And yes, one more question. Const uh, first is again encoder dot encode, and second, and console.log first, and second. So will first and second be equal to each other? Loads gates. Shit, we can check it in node like this. Uh, console dot log new text encoder dot encode hello. That is good, and we get this thing. And if we do this again, we get the legit same thing. So okay, exit. So we can either do this encoding part when we are giving in the key, or we can just do this right here. So let's do this right here. Text encoder dot encode secret. And why do we have new here? Key and key. And now we should be happy. We are not happy. Shit. Uh, Again, this is not matching. ChatGPT said that we can use this. Why not auto convert strings? Because crypto libraries avoid magic. Auto converting strings would like JavaScript does not auto convert other things. Accidental weak keys, non-portable behavior security libraries are intentionally strict. Real mental model important. Think of keys like hardware tools, not values. You don't have a machine, something sharp. You hand it a 5 mm drill, bit rated for steel. Hmm. So how do we get key for something? Import key using this. We tell the algorithm to this function import private key CS8 from Jose. Jose itself provides something, and then pem key. What is pem key here? Const key equals import private key cs8 Jose dot private key cs8, and from this first thing let's say key, and second thing rs256. Okay, I think that should work. That does not work. That is not the key. Private key. After getting the private key, we have to text encode that thing, I guess. And we also have to look up what does text encoder do. Seems like it is a class, but okay, shit. Argument of type. Okay, this returns a promise. Wait, are they doing await? Yes, they were doing await. So shit. Okay, now it is cool. One back, and we did see something. Error. It was error. Must be PKCS formatted string. Shit. This function has its own format. Key format PKCS8. What is the required format? Uh, we are using RS256, this thing. Uh, PEM key. What is the input file for this? This thing is just a string. This thing is just supposed to be a string. Both of these arguments are supposed to be a string. Uh, Give me a working example for getting a private key for RSA256. Let's see how that goes. Hello, are you using Vim? I think VS Code cursor would be better in today's time. Better in what sense? To skip those building again and again for learning our own. Say go with AI. Yeah, I'm learning. Like community groups. Anyone have any advice or suggestions like making friends. Should bro is asking how to make friends. There is a book called How to Make Friends and Influence People. You can read that. It is cool. All share and shared. Okay, propaganda. Zodiac propaganda. Yes, for learning, AI is cool, and right now I'm making this website for learning. So yes, I would like to do things by hand and slowly and not just gloss over as far as I can, of course. Generate an RSC key. Generate key pair public key. Wait, wait, so this thing just generates a key. That is cool. Whatever it does internally. Generate key pair, public key and private key. But isn't this like too much work? Because we haven't even begun to get a JWT. JWT is just a very small single step in the whole process. Hmm. And then we sign this thing, set protected header this, set issued at, set expiration time, and sign in. And this thing takes private key. And then when we are verifying, we verify using the public key. But from what I remember, I guess we used the same key, but now it is not. Okay, let's see. Cons public or cons response key equals Jose dot generate key pair rs256. That works. And dot await dot verify takes public key, and this takes private key. Run back and getting token, got the token, and the second promise is awaiting. Yes, it should await. Run back, and that is cool. Okay, shit. Got this thing. This is the token, and if we were to go here and paste this, and shit, the second segment is messed up. They say this is my payload and don't share is. Yep, this is the thing. Enter a public key to verify the JWT. Okay, let's enter our public key. Public key, we don't know what the public key is. Console.log key dot public key. Wait, this is not actually going to be vulnerable in any sense. Yo, by streaming every day. Hello, Matics. Oh, thank you for noticing. This is not going to be any like vulnerable public key. Uh, this is something related to the Jose library and not this not going to do something bad to my computer. How does Jose Mexican this part? How is Jose generating these keys? Does it have some random number generator seed algorithm? that it uses, and on each call gives a new key, or does it? I mean, isn't there also the concept of a computer has a connection, and an IC or something has a private key and a public key, is which should be kept private. So yeah, what does it do? What does this do? How does Jose get the public and private key? Okay, right questions. Short version, but besides, Jose does not invent its own random seed or keygen algorithm. It delegates everything to the platform's cryptographically generated secure random number generator. Should that is an acronym. CS Spring via web crypto. Now let's unpack that carefully without hand waving. Okay, what actually happens when you call this thing? Jose does not do math itself. Jose is a thin orchestration layer. It does not pick primes, roll dice, manage entropy. I would not expect it to manage entropy. Instead, it calls crypto.subtitle.generate key. Crypto is another library. Can we import crypto? Import from crypto something. And shit, crypto actually legit seems to be a library. Can we go in there? Yes, we can. Yet 4,000 lines. Crypto.d.txt. These are all the types in the crypto library. Okay, that is cool. Where does web crypto gets ran? Okay, so the Jose library is asking the crypto library to give some random key, and where does this thing gets? Jose asks web crypto, which asks Buns implementation, which asks operating system Spring, CS Spring, hardware entropy resources. On macOS, your case, Bronos. Ultimately, entropy comes from hardware CPU instructions. Time jittering. So it is random. Yeah, it is random. Is there a seed reuse between calls? No, absolutely not. So these things will give random keys, different keys each time. So we can, okay, that is cool. That is cool. So nothing sensitive is getting leaked. Export, pause, print, keys, and pause key equals or private key, and public key is await Jose generate key pair for RS-256 await. Okay, because this function has to be opened. Console.log private key with the public key, or maybe with a different console.log statement, and one property key1 does not. Okay, shit, of course it does not exist. And then we are redefining the thing. Okay, okay. Shit, that is a language level problem. So what we can do here is, well, at least here in the first call, this thing works. Key, and here key dot public, and key dot public, and here key2 and key2 dot private key, and key2 dot public key. export this function outside print keys and call print keys as is, and we get a lot of different things. Shit. Run back and we get a lot of different things. Type private key, name, and this is the key 101. Name is this, extractable false, hash use sign. Wait, these seem to be exactly the same things. Just print 2 and blah blah blah. Second one is below. Second one is below. And yep, console.log comparison is console.log key dot private equal private key. Console.log run back and false. Okay, these are not same on the surface at least. Private extractable false algorithm is legit, same in both. 2045, all of these values are same. 101, 101, sha 256. So what is the part which is not same? I guess there might be some internal hidden parts to this returned thing which we are not getting. Crypto key, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so we can get a key which is pretty dope. Once public key, private key is Jose dot generate key pair, which we already have here. Jose or await Jose generate key pair for RS 256 and here public key and here and in the main function payload is, what is the payload? Payload, say, secret message. And yeah, shit, this is cool, this is cool. So we have a way to verify a key and we sign and then verify the key. We can set up time limits, which is cool. Shit. Which class you are in school? One flash where numbers are shown and okay, some communication dot time. Where is time? Set expiration time 2 hours. Does not exist on compact sign. It exists on sign JWT. So let's use these things and we will not import everything because that seems a bit stupid. Sign JWT and verify JW. What is the equivalent for this? They have not given. JWT verify. Composite, verify with capital V, and also generate key pairs. Uh, yep, it is not compact verify. Now it is JWT verify the full thing and sign JWT. Cool. And now this does not work. Argument of type non. This can I pass in the token? It I would sign user token. This would be called payload. Payload, and this does not take this thing. Okay, shit. Okay, this requires an object. Payload, payload. Payload is an object. Payload is the object. Cool. Set protection. This thing set expiration date and private key. And then here verify and return. And the two things that are returned by this are payload and the other thing. Let's see. I don't know what else to do after this. So we have a verify function and we have a this function. What we would like is we would like to so what would we like? We have a way to sign in and verify a key. Okay, so a user comes in, they give their username and the password. This goes to the backend. The back end takes the username and password, right, and stores this in the database. Cool. And this generates a JWT given back to the user, and on any subsequent request the user with the request, whatever the request is to the specific correct endpoint, sends back the JWT, and we verify if the JWT is correct and we get back the username and the things that we have given in the JWT. So we would need some interfaces, and some interfaces would be specific to the backend and some would be common and some for the front end. So but this one is just for the backend. So helper, in helper we can have interfaces or a separate folder. Interfaces, yep, a new file. This would be jwt payload.ps interface jwt payload. This will contain username, which is going to be a string, and user ID, which is also going to be a string. I guess that is good enough. Both these two, export these two. Okay, and in this is for signing and verify. Yeah, sign in and verify. This does not take, this will take in the token, but yes, the return type would be user interface or JWT payload is a type and must be. and here we will say that the return type of this function is this. But how do we see the return type? I guess we tell it at this point here. JWT payload, yes, does not match. That is fine. I think, and here we can say as JWT payload, it's shit. Hmm. Conversion of type this payload to JWT payload may be a mistake, because neither type specifically overlaps with the other. Dot payload. Payload can be of any type, and this thing here takes JWT payload gives back the string. Wait, JWT is not a string. What is the type of this JWT? It is a string, so maybe this is not the place where we specify the return type of a function. Type in TS for what are these arrow function for arrow function. Okay, it is legit same correct. Hmm. The return type of an async function or method must be a global promise which returns a string. That is cool. That is cool. Makes sense. A promise which is later on going to return a string. So here promise which is going to return a string, and now the problem is with this part. We are not able to convert this payload into JWT payload. Why? JWT payload is the missing properties from JWT payload. Type JWT payload is missing the following properties from type JWT payload. Username and this. But how is JWT payload? So these are two different things. JWT payload is different from JWT payload, and they are saying that this JWT payload does not have these things. JWT payload. Okay, let's see what things it does have. Return this payload, and here let's create a payload of type JWT payload, which is supposed to have user name, let's say Prakashi, why not, and user ID number 0, which is better than number 1. And now we need the token cons. Token is sign this payload. This gives back the token. Okay, and now payload which we got back is verify and give this thing the token, which is wrong because we have to await. Yes, shit. And await here also. Console.log payload back. Run back, and we got payload which has payload. So in payload we have to go to payload, and shit, we even got the expiration time. It is going to expire after this much time. Payload. And now can we do as JWT payload. We can do as JWT payload and promise, which is going to return a JWT payload. And this this thing is very sketchy. Payload. But anyways, I guess now we are good. And if I were to say here JWT payload, this does work, and this thing would be a string. Then back. Yep, Kakashi with 0. So that is cool. Yep, Mac. Unfortunately, let's play. Shit, go on. You have gone to play stuff. That is cool. Okay, we can sign. What other functions would we require? Now we should create some database APIs. Where database data. Let's remove this. Add or create user takes in username and normal password. This takes in normal password, and it is going to hash the password, store this thing, and at the end, it at the end this will no, this will just create a user, and this will not worry about creating JWT or anything. This will just create a user. Insert into user, given this thing password create user. Yep, and the password has to be hashed, and I think we use bcrypt for that. Bcrypt JS usage require bcrypt recommended salt text other plain to hash a password bcrypt dot generate salt around this, and this takes in a function error and salt bcrypt. Okay, this takes in a function because this function will run when this thing runs, when this thing has completed running. Bcrypt dot hash store hash in your password database. But okay, is this the like only way to do bcrypt? Can we not do dot await? We have to give in a callback function. Then solved. And this function will also have to handle error if there is some error. And after getting the salt bcrypt dot hash my password, and shit, this function bcrypt dot hash also takes in a callback function in which we are going to store stuff in the database. So first we generate salt, then we hash our password, and this function will get an error maybe if there is some error, and also our hash password. Okay, so first, but we have to install bcrypt one and crypt. Okay, cool, that works. Database and okay, here bcrypt is not imported. Bcrypt equals required bcrypt, but we do not want to do the require thing. Do we have to require please? Sure. Import bcrypt. I guess There is some other name inside bcrypt for importing bcrypt, which is exporting bcrypt. Bcrypt promises.json, bcrypt.js. It is legit using export modules, but this is not. Yep, this is using export modules. So this is like old. Is there a better, newer thing? This is 9 months old. Uh, Latest way to have passwords. Yes. Simple. Yes, latest, like just 10 years old. Bcrypt algorithms for bun. What would be the library for bun? Maybe bun even provides. Yes, bun even provides its own internal thing. Bun.password.hash. That is cool. Bun.password.hash. Password is this. Await bun.password.hash. Hash this and verify for verifying. Bun.password.hash. Memory usage. Time cost. Argon hash. And how do you verify? Bun dot different multiple ways to hash the thing and then verify, give the actual password and the hash. Okay, so we will not use bcrypt. Bun remove bcrypt. Yes, let's use the internal thing given to us by bun. Hash password type string is bun dot password dot hash synchronous. We don't have to await this synchronously, and the password is pass. And here given the hashed password. Okay, that is. Do we need to do anything else in this? No. If someone calls this function with the username and the password, then cool, this works. Right, and we don't need anything else. Now for login, static async function verify user. The user will give their username, string, and also their password. And yes, so first of all, we have to get the response const and shit, this is a stupid way. We are just here directly returning this response, which is not very correct. Await PSQL, PSQL with this thing username, and two people cannot have the same username. That is one thing. Select from users where username equals username, and this will give us something. Let's see what is the format. Console.log, and yes, console.log. Let's see what this does. And we are not even doing any JWT stuff just yet. We just have verify, it takes in a token and verifies, and we have a thing to generate a token. Import data, and yes, my bad. Yes, me on Mac. Should I misclicked on something? I deleted or did something bad. But yeah, I am on Mac. Unfortunately, I cannot use Linux. And the stream is not stuck, which is a cool thing. Data. Yes. Let's create a new user. Kakashi, and const password is secret, and response data dot create user with username and password from one. No. And let's see console.log. What this thing returns one return back, and this does not do anything. Bcrypt was not found. Who is even asking for bcrypt? This guy. One run back, and pending shit, which is a bad thing. Shit. Yep. One run back, and empty. We get empty. We were not able. Okay, shit. Yes, we are getting empty because we are printing a response for when we are creating a user. Okay. That is to await dot verify user or get user, verify user, verify user. This tells us if we have this username and this password, does this username does legit have this password or not. Run back, and empty, nothing. There is no user with this name, which should not be the case. There is shit, legit no user with this name. How? What is 85 into 60? 970, 170 into 3, 45, 51, 5100, I think. Okay. And shit, okay, 1 minute. I have to connect to my Postgres, for which, yep, once again, I am reminding why I left web development as soon as my work was done. Yeah, this is fine. I want to create a chess. I want to create chess. And I will have to hide my screen because I want to connect to Postgres server. So 1 minute, and I do not want to show my private keys. Even yep, es funktioniert. It is working. Quick connection, and it would be like very funny if I'm just thinking that the screen is hidden, but actually it is not. Okay, cool. This is connected, and yep, the screen was hidden. So cool. That was cool. Shit. Things were hidden. Yes, on even on the event page, things were hidden. So that is cool. Uh, Select all from users. Nothing. Legit nothing. Nothing. Even though we did call the create user function. Await insert into users username and values. So create user and then verify. We are creating a user. Uh, one run one run back, and okay, empty, 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 empty. This thing is empty, and we don't have any user here. DT to see the tables. We why do we not have any users? We are legit following the database, telling the database to create user, but we are not creating a user. Should is it because this takes time? No, this does not take time. P SQL awaiting and await for the response. This is not working somehow. Database URL and shit. Maybe we are not able to make our connection. Console.log, are we getting thing port? But then we would be getting some error. Yes, we are getting things from the environment variable file. So that is not the problem. We are able to create a, we are able to establish connection. No problem with that. It's just this thing is not working. Shit. C chess. Now we are in chess. And nothing incriminating has been shown. Okay, cool. Select everything from users. Okay, we do have things, but we are not getting them in response. We do have things in there. Select from users where username equals username. Username is Kakashi. So we don't have this username, it seems. Wait, shade, I guess because we do something like this for a literal value and no. Where username is the labeling correct? Select all from users, username, small Kakashi key, capital or whatever. Select all. Select what? All. Select all. Shit. That was the problem, I guess. One and back. And now we do have things, it seems. Yes, we do have columns. So that is cool. What is this? Yes, we do have. Cool. And we can iterate over this. Or we cannot iterate. We can just look at the first member of this, which would be our answer. Size cannot be greater than, cannot be too big. When we are creating a user, we will return, we are here returning a response. What is the type of this response? Postgres list of rows. That is fine. Or an error. F this copy pull. Go back. This paste. Hmm. The return type of an async function or method should be a promise. It has to go inside a promise. This or how do we say or? I think like this or error. It's a single this thing. Error. Okay, shit, we'll also have to create our own errors. Okay, let's create our own errors. Errors.ts. How do we create an error? What does an error even look like? Error is an interface dot const user not created error. I think here we given the message user cannot be created, right? And so const user not found error, user can't be found, and export const user cannot found and user uh, password wrong, user gave wrong password, or password does not match, or yeah, something like that here. So either this or error, and after this we will await. Try this, and if this works, return response. Catch all catch all errors, or what are the errors that can be returned by this PSQL thing? In nothing, it seems. Shit. Catch all errors in JS or TS, TypeScript, JavaScript. Okay. Come to low level development, you would need those shitty. Come to low level, you would need those shitty multiplication to keep your mind. Yes, those are not shitty. They are like useful at times. Like they keep my mind sharp. Project calculations would keep you on edge. Yes, that is a true statement. When JWT be living on clients, JWT, yes, they would be living on client's computer. Yep. Try, catch, finally catch. Okay, it goes like this. Yeah. And if this and thing, then return user not created food. User not created error. So this looks a bit more professional. I guess that is cool. Right. And here, password. This takes in password. Okay. And yes, how do we check the size for this thing? And also the return type. A return type would be of course, a promise. What are the things? Promise would either return JWT payload or error. A function whose declaration type is neither undefined nor void, no nor any must return a value. Uh, yes, this is returning a value. Okay. Yes. Response after getting response dot, what is the type of this response? They said this is a row list of rows. List of rows. Size, size is not a thing. Length, length should be 1. Assert, cannot find assert. Okay. How do we assert? Assert in JS. Assert this and this and this. They are saying no. Assert in TypeScript 3 years ago. The compiler that something must be true at some point. Introduced in TypeScript 3.7 asserts keyword. Yes, where is the asserts keyword? Asserts value is string. Value is string. So, okay. Asserts is a thing. But this only comes at this point. Assert is string. Assert is string. As keyword. Value as string. Common uses. Should they don't have a like very inbuilt interface for writing assert. We have to write a function in TypeScript which we call to justify our assert, which is some work. We can just check if response dot length is not equal to 1. It must be equal to 1. If length is not equal to 1, then return user not found error. Cannot find user not found. User not found error. Else, else it is like, yeah, else it is pretty cool. Else response return response dot pay. This is not payload. Dot 0 as JWT payload. That is good enough. Uh, Pass is declared, but its value is never read. We will read it, don't worry. Const user is user response as user. Now we will verify the password after getting the user. One dot password dot verify synchronously, and where password is the first and hash is the second. Password is pass and dot shit. Okay, at this point we just have the user ID. We have to get the hash password. Okay, we have to get the hash password. We can either create another function in this class to get a hash password, or we can call it in place. Let's write another function. Get hash password. This thing takes user ID, which is a string, and promise, which returns. We only need hash password, so yes, a string or error. But we got a response here. Shit, yes, we already have the hash password. My bad. We already have the hash password. We just like converted it into wrong thing. This thing equals this. Yep. It would be very helpful if we could tell JavaScript what the schemas of our things are. Anyway, user dot, let's see what the user is. Run back and error. Yep, error should. User cannot be found. Error is crazy. User not found. I guess it is because of this. Function lacks. Not created. Let's remove this one. One run back and empty. This is empty. No, we do have this. We do have this. Okay, that is cool. That is cool. We do have this user is equal to this thing. That is cool. And also console.log response dot length. What is the length? One run back and the length is 10 somehow. Length is 10, which is not very helpful. We need to have schemas. You don't use at least 30 to 35 external dependencies. How can you call this professional? This is professional. Um, can your project really be considered professional if it doesn't break on 14 lines of code removal? Should, yes, there is a thing, right? To see how good a program is written, you go to a random file and just remove a bunch of code and see if it is still working or giving error. That is something we do. And yes, cut me some slag. Right, I am building my first major project, and yeah, I don't really have made a big project before this. I've just done stupid random things and left in the middle. Session functions. Verify, we know verify. It's what we need is how to give SQL schema to JS. How to give SQL schema to JS to JavaScript. Or I am using bun with Postgres library. I want to get type LSP support when I do some fetching from the database. How can I give uh, JS PS my SQL schema? Make TypeScript to blind stop being blind to my database. Good is the correct answer. Stop fighting the ecosystem. Use, okay, no, I do not want to use the ORM on raw SQL and big package. If you are using this, TypeScript has zero idea what your SQL returns. You manually, we have to define types. We have to define types manually like this. And SQL, this will return a row, user row, list of user row. Okay. I guess, yeah, we will have to manually define stuff here. This is the schema for things. Let's just do this for user only for now. database, and here in database interface.ts interfaces rename, yes, interfaces.ts. Go here and interface user, and we need a distinction between a normal user and a user written from the database. So we will say this user data. This has an ID, which is string, let's say, username, which is string, and hash pass, which is string. Export this, right? And here, when we are getting user, this will return user data list, right? User data list console.log length user 0 console.log user. Okay, let's see how this goes. One, run back, and ID, username, password. Cool, cool. We are getting the correct thing, and the length was 11 this time. Wait, why is length changing randomly? Now it is 12. Okay, straight, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Why is the length changing? Because we have a lot of users with the same username, and all of them are literally Kakashi. All of them are named Kakashi. That was a reference to React. Yeah. And dependency hell, now even more personal projects use too much external dependencies in dev. But it went bouncer, new. Can I be a user as well? Yes, you can be a user as well. Okay, let's create a new user with some checks. Yes, okay. If users dot length not equal to 1, this must be equal to 1 in the final analysis. This must be equal to 1. If this is not equal to 1, then return user not found. User did found, but user error, finding error. What is user finding error? User finding error. Import this with semicolon. Okay, a response dot length, and yes, the response is gone. So after this point, we know that we have a single user, right, from which we can extract the password. We can get the hash password. Okay, now we want to verify with bun, with try, I think. Const response equals bun dot password dot verify synchronously. First the correct, the given password, and then the hashed password, which is inside users 0 dot hash password, which might not exist. Okay, if this might not exist, if this exists, then user should, yes. If this is false, then this. Argument of type string undefined is not assignable to parameter of type string buffer. Undefined is not assignable to type string over buffer. Res is declared, but it's mm, I guess we will have to use that ternary operator. Uh, Question: if this thing equals null, then return empty string, or otherwise users slash as password. Hmm. Hmm. Undefined, not null, undefined. Mhm. Mhm. This is certainly not very professional. Okay, but what is the type of this? Res is a boolean. Shit, this is just a boolean. So no error here. If this thing does verify, if this thing is correct, then what do we return? We return the payload. Okay. If this thing is correct, then return users 0. Or after this, we'll say user is users 0, and so, we'll use bunch of shortcuts. Substitute s, or just go to the thing. User, okay, and where username is user dot username, and username and user dot username, and user ID is user dot ID. Property possibly 0 as JWT payload. Okay, else user not found, or wrong user password not match error, wrong password error, password wrong. Okay, now we can make you a user. Felonium. This is not a distro. This is not a, this is Mac, unfortunately. Work, you don't do work off stream or even study about concept topics needed? Well, I have not been able to work on this specifically off stream. Off stream, I do some other things, you know, text there though. Shit. And yes, consistency, I think it is wait, yes, new yes, I thought you were talking about consistency, my own created one, yes, but yeah, my new is my own config. You can see my config. Okay, everything is cool here. Just starting a project from nothing is a big resistance. This looks difficult. Okay, user, get the user, check there must be only a single user with this name. If not, user finding error. Then get that user and check if the password matches. If the password does match, then return the JWT payload, which can be created into a JWT token. That is cool. And then else return wrong password. Okay, that is helpful. Now we will make you a user. Crack OS dev with ONS. What would you like to be your password? Like, what is the password to your bank account or something? You implement chess rules yourself or use a we will implement, like we will see, that is a late, that will come later. But yes, yeah, we will implement chess rules myself. I will implement chess rules myself, or with the people that I'm working with right now. No one else is working on this project, but yes, I am planning to ask my friends out. Chess is pass. Don't know chess. Shit. Password is password. Yes, that is the password to my computer. Don't know chess is your pass. Okay. We'll create your user, data.create user, username and password, and we will respond user new, right? And then we will user got or old one run back and shit. Wrong password. You gave wrong password. That does not even make sense. Okay, we will now, like, we will not create the user. User is hopefully already created. Select all from users. Yes, cracked OS diff. We have the password here. That is a very strange password. You have the password and you are giving the wrong password. You are not giving the correct password. There, something is wrong with your password. Equally difficult, if not more, once the project has crossed certain threshold and you will wish to just yes, there is also temptation when like I did with the evolution project farming. You add constraints to password like uppercase. Yes, I guess that is the thing. Yeah, that was suspicious. And I think, yes, because of the constraints, this is not working. Because I guess because of this character, if I remove this, but if I do remove this, in the table we already have the password. We already have your username with that password. How to delete? Yes, delete or erase. Not select, but delete or erase. Delete. How to delete record? I will delete yourself. Delete your record. Delete from users where username equals cracked was dead. Sounds shit. Okay, they are taking this literally. I messed up with the spelling. CRACKEDOSDEV. CRACKEDOSDEV. Cracked was the open. Select all from users. And okay, shit, this is uppercase, but that is, but here it is checking for lowercase. Or if I were to select all from user where username is, I think this would work. I think is checks if the thing does not care about the capitalization. I think correct over. No, it does care about the capitalization. Syntax error. Syntax error. Okay, shit. How? String letters in SQL which have capitalization with single quotes. Shit. Cool. With single quotes. So here, while creating the user, we did get capitalization because in the record your name is with capitalization, but here we did not. I guess the problem came from here. I will not delete your record. I will first see if we are still getting the error or not. Don't know. Yes. Okay, we are still getting the error. Cannot determine data type of parameter 1. What does that mean? This is a different error. Run back and this is a different error. User gave wrong password. So we are getting a user, but and also we are getting a single user. So problem is not there. We are getting a legit user. Just the password is not matching somehow, which again is might be because of the single quote. Possibly, yep, because of the single quote. So Claude 4, they are kind of same. I don't know what the difference would be. Im Arena has it free, I guess, with context size 32K. What is context size 32K? Like how much things it can remember when talking to a person. Delete from user where username is without space. Track with div. Deleted one. Cool. Now we will create and then check. And hopefully that should have worked. But we're getting wrong answer here. Log. We do not want to recreate a user run back and we got this whole thing, but this is wrong somehow. User gave wrong password. Verify sync. Warning, password hashing is slow. Consider using password.verify. Synchronous password. Okay, password hashing is slow, no matter. Instead, which runs on worker what is returned. This will return true if passwords are same. Should this requires three things? Payload. What is this third thing? Which we gave when we did shade. Of course, this would require the. Oh, this does not require the key. Okay. What does this want? Algorithm. hash sync and then verify. Just give the password and the hash. But this does not work. Maybe, shit, maybe because this thing is sending an empty password. Yes, yes, P is small here. P is small. Shit. Now we should be happy. Substitute capital P with P. Okay, now one run back. Cool. We are getting user ID and password. So you are officially a user. Cracked OS step. That's cool. Claude Opus is much better for technical things. Context size is basically memory. So 32 is good enough for 25,000 words. 32K. Claude Opus. And you are saying it is free. That is a plus point. Okay, I guess they can use something better for logging in like this. Email in ILM Arena. Wait, we can use stuff in LM Arena? I thought they just tell you which thing is, or yes, which agent is better. Uh, how do I do Lord Opus? Okay, agree, of course. Assistant A and B. Okay, shit. I guess the concept here is, this might be stupid, but like that I don't know this, but I guess the concept here is we ask something and this just randomly gives us two responses from two places and we have to tell which one is better. So that is why that is how they rank. Group changes to direct chat. Direct to chat. And okay, shit, that is cool. Thinking 32K. Shit, and we don't need any subscription or anything. That is crazy. That is crazy. We can just uh, how many send to you using LM Arena. Thinking, bro is actually thinking. The user is asking. Shit, bro is thinking quite a bit. I don't have specific information about LM Arenas. LM, it's just chatbot arena exact the query limits as these policies change and may vary based on whether you're logged in current server. So that is cool. There is some okay, but we can use this as long as we want. That is cool. Till now, I've only been using ChatGPT, so I don't really know what the differences are between different things. So let's try this out and log in. Continue. Okay. So yep, let's also add the JWT step. I think yes, for creation of a user, these two functions are good. I don't think cannot think of a vulnerability or maybe a missite here. This function gets the user name and password and gets the hash password and then creates this. And shit, we can maybe even tell what is going to be returned by this. This is going to return user data list. Let's go. And here we can say either error or user data list, which only has a single user. So return not response first, zero, the first thing on the response user data undefined or user data list is, I guess, good enough. Users, user of type user data equals user or wait, shit, this can just return true or false. This does not even have to return anything. Why would this function be returning anything? This is creating a user ID. ID, yes, user ID is something that would be required here. User ID. Yeah, user ID. User ID should be returned by this function. So we will have a separate thing. Async get user. This takes in, or I guess Postgres should do that by default. Get user. This takes in username. A string matches by username and gives back the ID. Promise string. Yep, and this is yes using function and const user users. What is again? Users of type user data list is equal to type can be anything here. Yeah, we are specifically saying that this is user data list where yeah, select all from users where username equals username. Yep, get the username, and after getting the username, if we do get the username, everything here should be in try catch block. Return error user not found. It is non-returnable. It is. And if there is no error and we did get the user, const user is users 0 dot users dot length greater than equal to 0, greater than 0 question mark. If it is, then users 0, otherwise an empty user. Right, and then return user dot not a string get user. This will return user. This is 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 data. Why is this undefined? This should not be undefined. If length users 0 is not equal to undefined, then this, otherwise this, and user data dot empty, we cannot send empty if users 0 equals undefined, then return user not found, else return users 0. Okay, so we will get the user. Here we have created users and we are getting something. Right, after this, if this works, user equals get user, this dot get user, where user name is what we given, cool, and this should return we just the user ID or the payload, JWT payload. Yes, this should return the JWT payload. That is a nice thing to return. Return this username from user dot user name, for which we do have to await this user dot username does not exist on user data or error. Yes, if this might also give us error. Shit. But if this does give us error, then shit, then we wouldn't be able to get to this point. Wait, maybe we can just skip the error given part and this would still work. No, it does not. Error is missing. Okay, after getting users, if user uh, is not equal to error, so comparing an object with a type is not a very good thing. If user, that is still wrong. If type of user equals JWT, reload only refers to type. How to compare type, how to check type of a and with TypeScript, how to, yes, which makes sense. Hello. For code related return for success or failure, return for success or failure, yes. For this user function, yes, this will return error for failure, and for success just the user ID. Type of this equals a string. Instance of, is this instance of this. If user instance of JWT payload, which is a type shit. How to say for interface in TypeScript, interface of a thing is equal to something, interface dog, interface this. Yes, and then is cat. What does is cat do? Takes in anything. Animal is dog. Animal is cat. Return this as cat dot as. Okay, shit. We have to manually check. Hmm. And error is also a type. User can be error or it can be user data. Type of if type of user equals not all of these constants but JWT payload. This comparison appears to be unintentional. It is intentional. This comparison appears to be unintentional. String Backend, these are the only things that we can compare with. And this have no overlap. Shit, we can only okay shit. This type of thing only returns a few specific type and does not return an object type. Other approaches, yes. Function takes in animal. This is cat or dog. Dot kind. Okay, because yeah, you can have this thing in this. Okay, we can see if user has a thing. If user dot question mark dot username is not equal to undefined. Shit. The problem is with the type of the user. Ah, shit. Okay, let's use this. Yes, I have a function that returns an object with some interface or an error in TS, and then uh, after getting the return value, how how do I how do I check what the return type is? Battle. This is battle. Copy direct chat with Max. What is Max? Claude 4.1. Okay, bro's thinking. Okay, shit. This is the thinking. No, this is the answer. When checking a return type of union like this or this union, you have several ways to narrow down the type using instance of. How do we use result instance of error? If user instance of error, shit, okay, that works. Or not instance of error, okay, cool, that works. And then user id would be user.id. Else return user not created error. Because you are not even using this value. Create a user, get the user. Yep, create the user, get the user, check the user, and happy. Return the username and ID after creating the user. So that is cool. Let's create some more users. Second, password, password. But run back and cool. We are getting user ID, username, user ID. Yep, and this thing, this is printing from inside the function. This is not being returned. This is the second thing that is printing. This thing, yeah, this thing prints something. Okay, and to create a user, APIs on the backend. Okay, data that will put a user on the back on the database. These functions here are for the database stuff, all of the database things to create user, get user, and here I guess we should just, yes, we can legit start writing endpoints. Endpoints. Yes, what should be the backend library that we are going to use? Express. Express. I guess Express would be cool. Express. Or let's ask the AI. What is a nice backend library I can use for Bun.js with Bun.js for Bun.js? Something went wrong. That is messed up. The user is asking about. 1 second. Elysia. Elysia. Bun add Elysia. Oh, shit, they are not even talking about Express. Bun native server, no framework. Shit. I guess we can use Elysia then. Learning curve, easy, plugin, many, middleware, many, portability, Bun only. This runs on Bun only. That is fine. That is fine. Wherever we deploy this thing, we can just run Bun there, and Bun is fast, so cool. Okay, Elysia. We will be using Elysia then. Elysia GS. This thing, if that is the pronunciation. Getting started. Bun create Elysia app. Shit. No. We already have an app. Import Elysia from Elysia. Elysia. Yep. OpenAI. Shit, that said OpenAI. Here. Import Elysia from Elysia. This is also fine. To create a new thing. At one glance, Elysia is an ergonomic web framework for building backend services with Bun. Servers with Bun. Designed with simplicity. Shit, this is moving, I think. No, 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 it is static. Designed with simplicity and type safety in mind, Elysia offers a familiar API with extensive support for TypeScript and optimized for Bun. Here's a simple hello world in Elysia. Localhost, if we go to localhost, we get hello world. Okay. New Elysia, create an object and dot handle get requests on this and return this handle. Wait, I'm getting all of this. That is crazy. Okay. Launched app equals new Elysia and let's add a get uh, dot get on hello there. Run back. Shit, we also have to launch this thing. Yes. Dot listen 3000. Listen 3000. 3000. No. 2222. Server is listening on port. Port should go above. Argument of type string is not acceptable. What does it want? Nothing, apparently. Listen 3000. Type integrity. But run back. This seems to be running, and we can use here postman. I do have postman, that is plus point. Okay. And sign in. Okay. GitHub, Google, open postman. Whatever this is. New. HTTP. Shit. Okay, that is just history from long ago. Here, that is crazy fluctuation. Host, local host 2222, and hello there. Cool, cool, cool. Endpoints. Now we have to write endpoints. Shit. Yes. Okay. We have to write endpoints, and I have to stream for 30 more minutes. Like that is a rule. I have to stream for at least 3 hours starting from today. So 30 more minutes.